Shalom, everyone, and welcome to our Monday Night Law Task Force, where the United States of America Republic, all of our Moorish American nationals and citizens on the line are learning how to be better citizens. And so that entails us knowing the law and also understanding the jurisdiction that we want to be fully in and how to extract ourselves from the other jurisdiction. So it's a slow process that can't be done overnight. And so we each need to pay attention to the process of how we do this. We have issued an orientation manual. It's not in full dress as we would like it to be on all the different issues and what to, how to do this and that and whatever needs to be done. But we're putting that together and making it more forceful every day. So we always are open to those who want to help working on that with us, so that we can, make it as efficient and effective as possible. At this point, I would like to let everyone know that Sister Brittany Kinnerbay, our Secretary of State, is going to be moderating the call for us today. And I'm going to yield the floor, though, to Brother Rob Woody Jr. Bay, so that he can give us a little bit more call etiquette and rules. Those who have their phones unmuted can mute their lines. But let me yield to Brother Ross, and then Brother Ross, you can yield back to Sister Brittany.
Copy that, and thank you, Sister Moderator. And I want to also say that I want to thank Sister Brittany for stepping up and having the courage to be the moderator for the day and days to come when it comes to calls for our nationals and our government. Okay. Having said that, I want to make sure that everybody knows this. For all of our new brothers and sisters on the line, we have call etiquette. And because we have call etiquette, you know that the Moors are the ones that brought it about under the great creator, Allah. We learn in parliamentary procedures how to speak and communicate to one another. In this government, we will not be speaking over each other, yelling at each other, or any of that thing, because we have parliamentary procedures that allow us to do that very thing, which is called a communications. So if you need to speak or want to speak on a specific subject, all you have to do is say yield, and Sister Brittany, the moderator, will give you the floor, yield the floor to you. You speak, and then you say, I yield the floor back. And so if somebody has a point of interest, all they have to do is say point of interest. And Sister Brittany, again, the moderator, will yield the floor to you. And then you go ahead and speak, and then you yield the floor back. I did make a mistake on the beginning. You always say Islam, and you'll be recognized by the speaker. Then when you get done, you yield the floor. So, that it will be no problems at us having flow in our conversations and our conferences, whether in person or on the lines. We need to have this so we get an understanding and a clear recording. That's why we do this, and that's the way we're going to carry out business. So please, let's have respect for one another while we're on the line, while we're getting an understanding and an understanding of what's being put out from your government, from our president, so that you'll be able to carry that information on and teach it to others. And also you get an understanding of it as well. So having said that, brothers and sisters, please mute your phones whenever anyone is speaking. Please learn to use *6 on your phone. Nobody's speaking right now. Please mute your phone. Thank you. Okay. Please *6 your phone if you want to come up and start talking. But put your phone on mute if somebody else is speaking so there won't be any interference. If you have little Mobites and Mobites, please be cognitive that they do like to speak. We're not going to quiet them down. We're going to put that burden or that task on the mothers and fathers. So please be mindful of that, the phones are muted in the background. So having said that, brothers and sisters, let's get on with our conference call in the Law Task Force. I yield the floor to our Sister Brittany Kinnerbay, Secretary of State.
Thank you, Brother Ross. Islam family. President, are you ready?
Give me like 5 more minutes.
Okay.
So we can just really open the floor to questions. Anybody have any questions about anything?
Okay. Any questions, anybody?
Point. Islam. Point of interest.
Islam, you have the floor.
The renunciation papers. I just wanted to make sure I was on the right track as far as the documentation, and make sure I had the compare notes with anybody as far as or if anybody could give me some insight on what forms they've come across, because I have come across the forms that I have come across for the renunciation is forms. They're forms DS-, all these forms of DS, DS-, 4079, 4080, 4081, 4082, and 4083. Those were forms from the State Department, and the IRS forms is, I think we went over the IRS. Yeah, IRS form is 8854. How do you?
Yes, my brother. So what were you saying about those forms?
I just wanted to compare notes with with everybody and see if I was on the right track as far as collecting those, getting those in order for the renunciation.
I heard you up until you said you just wanted to confirm and something else.
Compare notes with anybody that's still getting their forms together for renunciation as far as the DS forms, which are from the, I think that's the Consular, or no, State Department.
Yeah, give me the name of one of those forms again, please.
Form DS 4079. Let me get this here. I'll do this here. Okay. Form DS 4079 is the request for determination of possible loss of United States citizenship.
Mm-hmm.
Form DS 4082 is the witness attestation, renunciation, and relinquishment of citizenship. What's that? IRS is.
Yes.
IRS is. Go ahead.
Yes, but did you hear on one of our conference calls about these forms, or are you just thinking that they need to be done?
Well, I think that was on that was March 5th when we spoke about the renunciation and the relinquishment of U.S. citizenship.
Point of interest.
All right, I'm going to yield the floor. Sister Brenda, you have the floor.
I apologize for being late, but those are the forms that President C. Cannon Bay sent out. We did talk about that on the 5th of March.
Sister Brenda, your phone volume was so low. I think I heard you, but I'm not sure if everyone did. Is there a way to turn it up?
No, ma'am. Can you hear me better now?
Just a wee little bit.
I can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me? Okay. I don't have a way to turn it up. It's up actually as loud as
I second that. You're okay.
Sore throat. Those are the forms that C. Cannon Bay President sent out to us on March 5th. We did discuss it. I don't know if everybody got them, but he did send it out. I yield the floor. I'm trying to catch up with why we're discussing them at this time.
Islam, that particular time I didn't have the screen share conference, and I'm also a new member.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So I was just spot checking everything, make sure I was in line with everything. That's all.
Oh, okay. Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I yield the floor.
Somebody's phone is
Islam. Islam.
Islam, you have the floor.
Islam, this is Philip L.A. Holman Bay L. Prince of Al Just, the Moor, out of New York Territory. I'm just called C. Cannon Bay, gave me the access code, so I'll let you know I'm on the line. Islam?
Islam.
Islam.
Welcome,
The access
brother.
code?
Excuse me?
Oh, okay. Never mind, brother.
Islam.
I have
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, I'm going to yield the floor over to our president, Christopher Kennedy.
Okay, you got to give me the screen share.
I'm doing it right now.
It's a lot of talking about. I want y'all to pay attention, and because it's y'all job to, we have to start really, truth. A lot of people don't like to hear truth. That's number one. But us being government officials and trying to uplift our people, at the same time we're trying to uplift our people, we're not trying to tear them down. But when they're doing things that's not lined up with law, we have to call them out on it, and we have to bring attention to it. So because if you don't, by the time you look up, thousands and thousands of our people will be going down the wrong path. So it's our duty, if we see something that's wrong or not right, to speak on it, to make sure that other people know the correct way and what's not the correct way. And I tell people all the time, anybody that feel that anything that we're not doing is correct in this government, they could bring it to the light. You know what I'm saying? The only thing I say is they should do it the same way that I do, and that's using the law. If they could show where you start not doing something correct, that's unlawful, that does not follow the law biblically, the so-called man law, the federal law, state law, whatever kind of law they want to try to use to show that we're not lined up, they're more than welcome to try. And that's we have to build on the principles of the law at all times. So right now, it's a big push going on right now about consular courts. And this is the brother, his name is Shalimar. And he's with Taj Tariq Bey now. And you see right here, he's saying consular courts, they way out and up for Moors. I want at least one consular court set and operational in the following states by August 31st. Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Virginia. Adding California and Washington, adding New York to adding Arizona Republic, while adding Nevada. Nevada Republic. It's saying adding Republic in which I was born, Michigan, adding the Great Republic of Illinois, where so much of what we're doing was launched. Okay. Do anybody on here know anything about consular courts and have an opinion about consular courts, or think that we actually need consular courts? Anybody?
Point of interest.
You guys?
How you doing, brother? Canada.
Wonderful. How you doing? Who's speaking?
This is Brother Rich.
Islam, you got the floor.
Islam. I remember you telling us one time that Oops, sorry, I got muted. Telling us one time that the consular courts were now under, I guess, the federal district courts. And I think you had us look up admiralty courts in the Black's Law Dictionary, or admiralty, and that's where it confirmed that the consular courts have been, I guess, transferred over to the federal district courts. Is that correct?
Right, the district courts assume the responsibility of the consular courts.
Correct. So with that being said, I don't see how this gentleman is, whatever he's trying to do, I don't see how it's really legit, him trying to establish something that's already kind of in existence.
Well, the thing of it is, well, you know what? This video is only 4 minutes and 19 seconds. Just play the video. Let me know if y'all can hear it clear or not.
So I've been thinking, consular courts and consulars, consulars. That's the big thing that's on my mind these days. You've been following me on Facebook, you would know that. We've had 104 years to set up our own consular courts and a network of consulars all over the country. I'm not sure that we have that. And in my mind, that means we need to do something different. Now, Costa Rica says there are really no Article 3 courts in operation in North America. They're all corporate constructs. All of them are corporate constructs. Do you know what that means? If we set up our own courts, everything moving in North America would be subject to our rulings because we're constitutionally and treaty bound. We're constitutionally and treaty bounded, as it were. Everything moving in North America will be subject to us. What does it take to set up a consular court? I don't know. Never set up one before. But we have models. We have noble these words. And we also have consulars for all the other major nations. For example, we have consulars from the country of India. We have consulars from the country of China. We have consulars. Jamaica, our own people have consulars. We're the only ones who don't have consulars at large working on behalf of our people. But what we're doing now is walking into a time when the opportunities are landing right squarely in our lap. Here's what I'm going for. I domicile in the Georgia Republic, and I'm going to start the process in the Georgia Republic where I live to set up a consular court, and pull together a group of consulars. Here's what I'm challenging my family to do. By January 8th of 2018, we all know the significance of that date, of Raleigh's birthday, born day. Let's have at least 25 consular courts, at least in the process of being set up. And let's publish amongst ourselves and learn from best practices, learn from mistakes, and let's get it set up. 25 can be at least in process by January 8th. Consular courts, that is a way out for our people. We have too many of our family members who have been kidnapped, disputes between Moors, and Moors are calling policy enforcers and having Moors picked up. That is just abominable to me. We have disputes between Moors and U.S. citizens, and they're going for the U.S. corporate construct, who definitely, they don't have our best interest at heart. That's Stevie Wonder to see that. But we are standing on the precipice of an enormous opportunity for ourselves. Set up your consular courts. Pull together consulars. We haven't perfected this. How do we get it started? Start it off rough, but let's get started. And I'm calling for my family to have at least 25 consular courts, at least in the process of being set up by January 8th. And let's honor foremothers and forefathers by our diligent work. Let's do this. If you're interested in that, let's chime in and figure out how to make it happen. I'm at ShalayMoreBay at gmail.com if you want to talk to me. I'm also on Facebook. Let's figure out how to get this done. We should have, by the end of 2018, this is me talking now. I'm not Noble Drew Ali and I'm not Taj Tariq Bey. I'm just me. By the end of 2018, December 31st, we should have at least 25 small consular courts set up and operational in North America. It's our responsibility. It's our duty. And it's our opportunity. We can start really, really laying claim to our vast estate with these kinds of responsible actions. Join me.
Okay. Anybody see?
Point of interest.
You got the floor.
Now, my understanding of consular courts is that it's based on the function of a counselor at law, and that is a person who is considered is synonymous with being an attorney at law or a lawyer. It's just another term for saying attorney at law or a lawyer, and that their job duties are providing legal counsel, drafting legal documents, and representing clients before courts and administrative agencies and other tribunals. We're already doing that. This is just something that will give you, you know how they keep telling, well, you have to have a lawyer to come in and do this, that, and the other. You can't do it. Yes, we can. In our laws, our Constitution. I'm not feeling well right now, so I'm trying to get through this. Please bear with me. We are a consulate court. We are counselors at law already. That would, sir.
I didn't say anything. Go ahead.
And what he's asking everyone to do, because the way to set it up is to actually get a degree in consulate law. You see what I'm saying? You would be more, I don't know how to explain it, but that's taking us back to where we were. Because they have degrees that in consulate law for juvenile, all of that. But that's what it is. It's a court counselor or a lawyer.
Point of interest.
I yield the floor.
Islam, you have the floor.
Now, is this guy talking about consular court or consular court with the U?
Right, they are different.
Islam.
Islam.
Right here on the
Islam. I'm
right
on
here.
the screen.
CONSULAR.
I was getting. If you allow me to read it there, Brother President or Moderator.
Go ahead. You got the floor.
All right. As usual, every time we come to any of the classes that we have online, please pull out your recommended dictionaries and law books. If you don't have a law book, you should have a PDF. Okay, unabridged dictionaries. We need to have those, Bouvier and Black's Law Dictionary. For the one that we're talking about and we're speaking about, we're talking about the consular courts or consulates. And what that consists of is the office or building housing a consul's office. The consulate is an officer or building in a receiving state housing a consul or consular staff or consular archives. Consulates may fly the flag and display the coat of arms. That's our crest from the receiving state. Okay, consulates are immune from search and seizure of documents related to the specific work of the consul as a diplomat agent. And consulates are exempt from taxation by the receiving state. First of all, let me explain what the receiving state is. The receiving state is one that receives the consulate that is coming over to do diplomatic affairs for the nation that is sending. So there's a sending state, which is ours. We could be a sending state. and we can also be a receiving state. We're receiving a consulate coming. These are people that deal with the affairs of that state government or that nation. So we could send somebody, say, for instance, to India. We're the sending state. They go over, they take, let's say Cannon Bay gives a directive to that consulate or that consulate. He goes over, he does diplomatic relations with that state to promulgate the business of the executive office or our nation. So he does that business there. He gets that done. They draft up whether it's a treaty, agreement, whatever it is, and they agree upon that. They sign and seal and deliver it. He turns it back to the president, and then they follow through with whatever that agreement entails. Whenever a consular and the staff is overseas, they're off limits. So the receiving state has to go out their way to protect those people that have diplomatic immunity over there handling the affairs of the receiving state. This is what this is about, and this is what their job is about and what they're supposed to be doing. And normally 9 times out of 10, they're sent from, they come from the State Department. So right now, if you look at the United States right now, it has a State Department, and it sends its diplomatic people overseas to all what's called embassies, so they can handle the affairs of the United States overseas. And it also has a flip switch on it too. Well, they come over here, and the reason why the president is saying that we don't need that over here is because when you have a State Department or when you have a government on your own land, the business is reversed now. They have to come to the government, which is already here, and so therefore there's no need to have that a consulate post on your own land. Only on a foreign land that you need a consulate post to conduct your business, if I said that right. So please make sure you have your law books out and your unabridged dictionary, whether it's Webster's or whatever you got, so that when you're looking up words, they'll make sense to everybody on the phone. I yield the floor for any comments.
Point of interest.
Point of interest. Okay, as always, we got Mother Muhammad. You was first, I believe, and then we'll get to Sister Evelyn.
I wasn't saying the word correctly, but it is the one that says, because there's also a difference between a consular with a U and counselor. Here in the United States, they call them attorneys. And there's a difference between a lawyer and a consular at law. And that was the explanation of it that our brother so graciously gave to us. Handling routine matters, specialized tax matters, high-level civil appeals or criminal cases, even DUIs or traffic citations. I yield the floor. I've got a really bad
Sister Evelyn, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to read the definition that I see here in the 4th edition of Black's Law Dictionary for consular courts. That's CONSULAR, consular courts. Courts held by the councils of one country within the territory of another under authority given by treaty for the settlement of civil cases. In some instances, they have also a criminal jurisdiction, but in this respect are subject to review by the courts of the home government. And that's the definition that I found in the 4th edition of Black's Law Dictionary. And I yield the floor.
Point of interest. This is Sister Kalana. Sister Evelyn, since you have the Black's Law 4th Dictionary, can you also turn to Admiralty and read that?
Admiralty. Yes, just give me a minute, please.
Islam, point of interest.
You have the floor, Brother Aaron. Watch you look for the word.
So it's to my understanding, thank you. To my understanding, the only reason we don't need consular courts because the consular courts are the same as like an embassy, and therefore, if we were going to set up a consular court, it wouldn't be here in our land; it would be outside of our land. Correct, Islam?
Correct.
What I would like, point of I apologize. So I wanted to go back to Sister Muhammad's definition where I heard her say handling high-level criminal cases, because that part of the definition seemed to indicate what we would do if we had an issue and we would need to take something to their consulate court. What was that part of the definition, Sister?
Oh, God. I can't remember.
Is there something about high level?
Yes, high level civil cases, criminal cases. They, in other words, you would be considered as an attorney. They go to school for it 3 years to get licensed to do that.
What was the part in the definition, Sister, specifically that you were reading? Can you read that again, please?
I don't have so many problems with my phone. I apologize. Yes, ma'am, I will. One moment, please.
One interest. She's telling you what a counselor is, but the issue and the subject is not about what a counselor is. The issue is, do we need consular courts here in America, in our own country? Because a lot of people really are listening to these guys, and they're really feeding into this nonsense. And this is why I'm saying, we have to make sure that we're teaching people correctly. Because even this issue on the consular court, I had a bit of discrepancy with one of our own government officials. And, it shows you the confusion that these type of things bring into place. And this is why me and Dexter always make sure, Facebook is actually Moorish news right now. That's what you get. If you want to know what's going on in the Moorish community, you're going to have to go on Facebook. Because they're not going to advertise or market it, what's going on in the Moorish community in no newspapers or no news station or nothing like that. So the only way for you to keep up with your community being Moors that nationwide across this country right now, you have to go on Facebook and see what they're talking about. And this is how me and Dexter was able to find out they really been pushing this consular court thing here in America. But before y'all do that, I'm going to show you how, I really don't want to view Taj Tariq Bey them as being no agents or nothing like that. But as smart as Taj Tariq Bey is, this is kind of making me raise an eyebrow. That these people are being paid to misguide and mislead our people. And I'm going to let Taj Tariq Bey say out his own mouth, I just want you to hear this video, what he going to say. And you can't tell me that he don't know that we don't need no consular courts here. So I'm going to play this video. Just listen to what he says.
Of thousands of years. Curious story, but one appropriate for February, which is Black History Month in the United States.
Now you're beginning to understand the Moroccan Revolution on another level. The American Revolution. The Moroccan Revolution. Now you understand why when you go to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, you see old statues got turbans and feathers on? Europeans tell them, oh, they're Frenchmen. And the Asiatics say, oh, all right. Ten statues got turbans and feathers on. Big as day. Gettysburg Address. So our people, they can't take, things are in their face and they like lunch. And within our territories, there are no mines where there's gold or silver. And this young nation, just recovering from the waste and dissolution of a long war, have not as yet had time to acquire riches by agriculture and commerce. But our soil is bountiful. Pay attention to this, you all. Take notes, take notes, take notes, take notes. Now you want to see why all of your leader guys must be Masons and why they got a Moorish fez in secret. Now look at this. We have not yet had time to acquire riches by agriculture and commerce, but our soil is bountiful and our people industrious, and we have reason to flatter ourselves that we shall gradually become useful to our friends. Pay attention to this paragraph. The encouragement which your majesty has been pleased generously to give to our commerce with your dominions. Where do you think you're standing? Moorish dominions. See why they don't give you real history? Why they reconstructed the history? Reconstruction. They weren't building, they're reconstructing history. So the encouragement which your majesty has been pleased generously to give to our commerce with your dominions, the punctuality with which you have caused the treaty with us to be observed, and the just and generous measures taken in the case of Captain Proctor make a deep impression on the United States and confirm, pay attention, their respect for and attachment to your imperial majesty. The United States is an appendage of the Moroccan Empire. Now you understand your divine constitution, bylaws, and dualities that you're part and parcel of the said government must live life accordingly. Now you understand why Obama told you that this constitution comes from Muslim law and this is not a Christian country? And our people think it's absolutely the opposite with their miseducation and promoted by a lot of their black leaders. Were paid off because they know this information, but this will kill that diaspora because you was already here. And this ain't India. And we ain't Indians. Anyway, it gives me great pleasure to have the opportunity of assuring your majesty that while I remain at the head of this nation, I shall not cease to promote every measure that may conduce to the friendship and harmony which will happily subsist between your empire and them, and shall esteem myself happy in every occasion of convincing your majesty of the high sense which in common with the whole nation I entertain the magnanimity, wisdom, and benevolence of your majesty. May the Almighty bless your imperial majesty, our great and magnanimous friend, with his constant guidance and protection, signed George Washington. You'll never see that in the history books because it kills the whole misinformation foundation that he was the first president and that this government was set up by them. No, they were brought into government. The Constitution is their sanction to do business at Morocco. There's that business flag of amity and commerce. Now you understand why you have that Moorish flag, and then you have the stars and stripes. It's a banner. It's not the national flag. This is the national flag.
Islam. You know, it's hard for me to believe that they're trying to set up consular courts, and this man just told you right here in this video that you at home. Watch what he said. What he say?
It's your history. You're standing on your own land, trying to go to Africa, and you're standing on Africa.
I really don't need to say no more. This is nonsense. When they talking about this consular court stuff, this is pure nonsense. Because you ain't getting ready to tell me that they don't know better. And that man just sat there and said,
Islam point of interest.
Point of interest.
Y'all, you got...
Islam, Mother Muhammad, you have the floor.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand that.
You have the floor.
Thank you. This is why I say we don't need consular courts. It's actually that if they are successful in setting up consular courts, because we are at home already in our own land. So my question is, are they trying to do it as a source of income? Because counselors to the court, they start out making $39,183 a year. That's their yearly salary coming out from under the bar after they graduate from the 3-year course. That's the first question that raised my consciousness. But what do what would we need consulate courts for? Except that they would try us by consulate court. And that would be an oxymoron. Like, Brother President, I disagree with you. I have to agree. I mean, what's really going on here? That makes no sense. Unless they plan on using other courts overseas, the consulate courts that are in place overseas, to come over here and try them on some of the things they're going over there doing. I yield the floor.
Okay, so. Go ahead, Brother Ross.
You had another brother that was before me that wanted the floor after Sister Muhammad.
Yeah, and Sister Evelyn was before that also, so I'm going to yield the floor to Sister. Well, is somebody going to answer Sister Muhammad?
You already yielded the floor.
Yeah, that was Brother Rich. President, it really don't surprise me because I asked Taj Tariq Bey he was on one of Cyber Bey's live stream whether or not we need a state and what nationality is. And the answer that I was given shows me that they don't even understand what nationality is. So if they don't understand that, then it doesn't surprise me that they don't understand what a consular court is and what it's for. Maybe he's not an agent. Maybe it's just something he just don't understand, and that's what I think it is. Now, to help me better understand, let me ask you this. If we were to have a consular court, would it be for the purposes of holding proceedings for other consulars of other countries who come here? It wouldn't be necessarily for us. It'll be for us, again, holding proceedings to handle issues between us and other foreign countries, again, who send their consulars here for business. I yield the floor.
Point of interest.
Point of interest after Sister Muhammad.
It's not Sister Muhammad.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
My turn.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing that, I don't see the use for that, because who overseas is going to come over here and do something to us that we would need consular courts? I mean, I'm really kind of feeling like this is a way that they think they're going to, and I don't know how to put it any other way, put USAR out of business. I yield the floor.
Islam, point
this is Kelowna. I just wanted to say that in sort of an answer to the question, I see that we wouldn't, through Cannon Bay's eyes, we wouldn't have to have the need to have our own consular courts on our land, but if they had any grievances, then they would have a consular court here if they were on our land and our government was running. And our only need to have a consular court would be in another land. Now, if we had an issue with one that we're sharing lands with, then we have to look at what courts they have that were the consular courts. And I think that the fourth dictionary, the Black's Law fourth dictionary, really does give a good idea to that. So I'd like to take the screen back if I could. Can they just show the definition for admiralty? And for those who can't see, on the screen share, Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition, the definition for admiralty. A court which has very extensive jurisdiction of maritime causes, civil and criminal, controversies arising out of acts done upon or relating to the sea, and questions of prize. And now listen to this very carefully, please. It is properly the successor of the consular courts, which were...
It's not on your screen for some reason.
Oh, let me take care of that. Okay, thank you. So the first part was read, and this paragraph is the most important part. It is properly the successor of the consular courts, which were emphatically the courts of merchants and seagoing persons established in the principal maritime cities on the revival of commerce after the fall of the Western Empire, to supply the want of tribunals that might decide causes arising out of maritime commerce. Also, the system of jurisprudence relating to and growing out of the jurisdiction and practice of the Admiralty Courts. So Admiralty is a court, and it's also the system of jurisprudence, but we see that it is properly the successor of what used to be the consular court after the fall of the Western Empire. And they can only be talking about the Moorish, Moroccan Empire.
Exactly.
I yield the floor.
It's on point of interest.
You have the floor.
I'm looking at also, I thank you, Sister Kelowna. I was looking at it too while Brother C. Cannon Bay was speaking. And it also, it says, also the system of jurisprudence relating to and growing out of the jurisdiction and practice of the Admiralty Courts. In English law, the Executive Department of State, which presides over the naval forces of the kingdom. The normal head is the Lord High Admiral, but in practice, the functions of the great office are discharged by several commissioners, of whom one is the chief and is called the First Lord. He is assigned by other lords and by various secretaries, also the Court of the Admiral, the building where the lords of the Admiralty transact business. In American law, a tribunal exercising jurisdiction over all maritime contracts, torts, injuries, or offenses. Second paragraph, Maritime Law 008, New England Marine. There's a whole lot of cases with that, but yes, ma'am. I don't see the need for us to have consulate courts on our land. And I believe also, Sister Kelowna, that they are speaking of, the empire that they're speaking of is the Moroccan Empire. Because if I'm not mistaken, somebody please correct me, we were the consulate courts that they were talking about. I yield the floor.
I think that Islam, point of interest, from what I derive in this, there's a lot of background noise. From what I derive, it's not that we have our own, but it's that we utilize theirs, because we would have, let's say, for instance, an issue with the anyone here. So we would go to their consular courts, which would be on our land, right, because they're foreign to us. And they have designated those courts to be the district courts, which handle the admiralty cases. So, therefore, we wouldn't need to have, and I was in disagreement prior to a lot of this understanding. Yes, I was saying, yeah, we need consular courts on our land, but it's clear what the use of them would be for, and we wouldn't need it on our own land, because the ones that we would need to have grievance against could have consular courts here that we could take into our grievances and claims into those courts. So those district courts, federal district courts, and bringing admiralty claims seems the solution from what I see. I yield the floor.
Point of interest.
Thank you, Brother. You have the floor, Brother Ross.
I also want to point out to everybody on the phone, too, that if we did have consular courts, and consular offices off our land, you know, we must know what the directives are from the executive branch. Because keep in mind that it is when you look at what the overall responsibility is, the consular court is usually ran off of the Secretary of State, and the State Department gets its directives from the executive branch. So when we have issues or anything like that, we can take care of those issues and everything because we are the home team. We are the what they call descending state. Okay, we're at home. So all the things that the consular office would be taking care of, like right now we got a chief judge. We're building on that. We got our senators. We got all of these people right now that are taking seats in the government. So everything that they would be taking care of are far away from us on another land, the receiving land, and we're descending land or ascending nation. It can be taken care of right now as we're building. So as we get everything in place, we really truly do have our consular situation already taken care of, because everybody here would be able to do those jobs abundantly that the diplomats that we'd be sending to the receiving states would be doing. And they have the power from the executive branch, you know, to do agreements, to negotiate receiving our nationals back from another nation state. I mean, they have an array of diplomatic responsibilities that they must do. Also, everybody on this phone, remember, we're Muslims. So one of our main goals, our main things we're supposed to be doing from the Prophet himself is that we're missionaries. So we're supposed to go be raising up following humanity all over the world. This is what we're supposed to be doing when we go on diplomacy to take care of business. So we're doing business with other people. We're jockeying for position. That's what the consular courts would be doing. They would be taking care of our business of our nation, but on another land. While we're here, we don't need a consular post because we have our government. So, for instance, you all, when you see all our buildings start going up, then that that function will be taken care of with the government right here on our own land. We'll still be doing that function. I yield the floor.
Islam, funny answer.
Yeah, let's go first.
Can you send me the screenshot back along?
Yes. I was trying to find that chart that you had comprised. I'll keep looking for it.
You know, without getting so far off the subject, I like to really stay on point on the subject that we're talking about, because, like I said, this is extremely important, because a lot of Moors are listening to these Moors telling them about these consular courts. Now, it's actually 3 or 4 different things that's going on right now that me and DJ noticed. It's a lot of big pushing to, like, all at one time by a lot of different individual groups that's popping up out of the woodwork, and it's like they're trying to distract the people away from the state government. So, you know, when y'all, you know, I really would like for these conversations that we have to be really focused and direct, and whatever you do, don't fade off the subject if possible, to stay on point of the subject. And the subject is this: consular courts and them being set up here in our own land. We don't need. They're telling you this clear as day right here at the bottom of this. It says, in some instances, they have also a criminal jurisdiction, but in this respect are subject to review by the courts of the home government. It don't say by the consular courts of the home government. It say by the courts of the home government. Understand, what we doing in USA is the correct thing, okay? Which is to get our courts open. That's all you need to do, is get your courts open. Now, it's another issue. Now, this is Rule 2 of the Rules of Civil Procedure. And as you can see, Rule 2 of the Rules of Civil Procedure tells you clear as day that there is one form of action, and that's the civil action. All of these different things, and I try to teach this to people. I don't care what kind of court you in, whether it's criminal, admiralty, whatever it is. When that jury or that judge say that you're guilty, the only thing that's doing is giving them a judgment. That's all it's doing. It's giving them a judgment. Once they get the judgment, now they're going to move on you civilly in that courtroom. Now it's about the money, how we get paid. That's all the criminal code is. All criminal laws has a big menu of prices and costs for what you've done. You ever hear them say, "Oh, you committed a crime, you got to pay the cost." They serious when they saying that. You got to pay the cost. That's why in the Bible it's telling you, if you have a discrepancy with somebody, settle your differences quickly, else they take you before the magistrate and you cast in a prison. So this civil thing been around, but people don't really recognize. And people so quick, they trying to come up with all these different courts and this and this and that. But this thing is very simple. The Supreme Court is the Supreme Court of the land. All other courts are inferior courts. They all are created through the legislation of Congress, but they are inferior courts. So people walking in these courts saying, "Show me your delegation of authority," and da-da-da. That's nonsense. They got a delegation of authority. Congress created territorial courts, bankruptcy courts, and courts that deal in court martials, that's your admiralty court. Courts that deal in court martials. So people really gotta just kind of, when you see these Moors doing this, you cannot feed into this mess. And I'm telling you, part of USAR, being a government official, it's your damn duty. It's your duty to protect the public. Being Moorish American people, you have to say something. If you don't, you are in violation of your trustee's duties as a government official. You are in violation of it. Anything me and DJ see Moore saying that ain't in line with the law, we shutting it down. Me and him side, we shutting it down. We go in on it. Sometimes he go in on it by himself. I don't have to go in. He'll go in good enough where I don't have to say nothing. But this issue is distracting people and slowing the momentum, because they know USAR got a momentum going. They know we rolling. They see it growing. And a lot of our people, they don't even see it, but the Europeans, they paying attention. They see it growing. So, we reached out to the brother Shalimar. We reached out to him. We talked to him. We said, brother, Dexter talked to him and said, brother, that ain't, I talked to him myself on the phone. Like, brother, now I want you to pay attention to something he's saying here. I'm going to play this video again. Listen to what he's saying. He gonna say something crucial in here that you got to really pay attention to.
Consulars. That's the big thing that's on my mind these days. You've been following me on Facebook. You would know that. We've had 104 years to set up our own consular courts and a network of consulars all over the country. I'm not sure that we have that. And in my mind, that means we need to do something different. Now, Consular Bay says there are really no Article 3 courts in operation in North America. They're all corporate constructs. All of them are corporate constructs. Do you know what that means? If we set up our own courts, everything moving in North America would be subject to our rulings because we're constitutionally and treaty bound, as it were.
And he's 100% right. Once we set up our courts, we basically got the last say-so over anything going on in this land, which is on our website saying that we will be determining the civil statuses of foreigners here in our country. That's what it's saying right on our website, that we will be determining the civil statuses of foreigners in our land. Now listen to them. Let them keep talking.
Everything moving in North America will be subject to us. What does it take to set up a consular court? I don't know. Never set up one before. But we have models. We have Noble Burali's words, and we also have consulars.
Now he just said, what does it take to set up a consular court? I don't know. I ain't never formed one. If you don't know and you ain't never formed one, and you talk to me on the phone directly, you talk to Dexter on the phone directly, and we're telling you that guess what? If you're going to have a consular court, number one, that's for outside of the country. Number two, it has to be a consular court agency of a state government. There's no setting up no consular court with no state. And he's going to say something about a state in this video. Before this video, he's going to mention something about a state. So if he don't know, wouldn't it make sense that he would kind of listen and do more research and talk, maybe call and talk to us a little more? So see, this is kind of what's kind of making me feel like, oh, okay. So are they still really pushing this? Hold on, Mother. I want to let him say what he want to say in this video because I want to make this point. I want to make sure y'all catch it.
For all the other major nations, for example, we have consulars from the country of India. We have consulars from the country of China. We have consulars. Jamaica, our own people have consulars. We're the only ones who don't have consulars at large working on behalf of our people. But what we're doing now is walking into a time when the opportunities are landing right squarely in our lap.
You know, he's saying we the only people that don't have consulars working for us, but all them people he just named also got a government that works for them. They also got a government. How is these people, and this is what I'm saying, you can't tell me these people ain't intelligent enough to understand that you don't just jump past government and jump to a court. Because every court I know is attached to some type of government.
Here's what I'm going for. I domicile in the Georgia Republic, and I'm going to start the process in the Georgia Republic where I live to set up a consular court, and pull together a group of consulars. Here's what I'm challenging my family to do. By January 8th of 2018, we all know the significance of that date, Noble Burali's birthday, born day. Let's have at least 25 consular courts at least in the process of being set up. And let's publish amongst ourselves and learn from best practices, learn from mistakes, and let's get it set up. 25 can be at least in process by January 8th. Consular courts, that is a way out for our people. We have too many of our family members who have been kidnapped, disputes between Moors.
Now, he said that's a way out for our people. What laws is they going to enforce in this consular court? They don't have a state. If they don't have a state, they don't have no laws. So what laws? I just want people to start thinking with common sense. How are you going to have a consular court and you don't even have no laws? You're talking about our people. What laws do you have that govern our people? So what laws is these counselors going to be counseling on? What laws? This stuff, you know, it irritates me.
And Moors are calling policy enforcers and having Moors picked up. That is just abominable to me. We have disputes between Moors and U.S. citizens, and they're going to the U.S. corporate construct, who definitely, they don't have our best interest at heart. That's, you know, Stevie Wonder could see that. But we are standing on the precipice of an enormous opportunity for ourselves. Set up your consular courts. Pull together consulates. We haven't perfected this. How do we get it started? Start it off rough, but let's get started. And I'm calling for my family to have at least 25 consular courts, at least in the process of being set up by January 8th. And let's honor our foremothers and forefathers by our diligent work. Let's do this. If you're interested in that, let's chime in and figure out how to make it happen. I'm at ShalayMoreBay at gmail.com if you want to talk to me. I'm also on Facebook. Let's figure out how to get this done. We should have, by the end of 2018, this is me talking now. I'm not Noble Drew Ali and I'm not Taj Tariq Bey. I'm just me. By the end of 2018, December 31st, we should have at least 25 small consular courts set up and operational in North America. It's our responsibility. It's our duty. It's our opportunity. We can start really, really laying claim to our vast estate with these kinds of responsible actions. Join me.
I mean,
Point of interest.
I think Sister Muhammad got the floor before you, Rich.
Okay.
Yeah, Mother Muhammad, you have the floor.
I am very agitated by this simply because, and I must agree with Brother President C. Cannon Bey, what laws are they going to counsel on? And what state are they going to say? You understand what I'm saying? And it's like, it's a distraction. For me, it's like, okay, this is what we're gonna do to keep anybody else from going to USAR. We're gonna tell the people we're gonna set up consulate courts. And that is setting themselves up in opposition to something that already exists. How can you not acknowledge USAR? How? I mean, am I making sense? I need to know. But how can any more come along and say, we're going to set up this court, and we're going to have consular courts, and we're going to do this, and we're going to set up 25 consular courts, but all over the place, they're all over Facebook saying that we're wrong. We're not. Do you understand what I'm saying? That USAR is not built according to Prophet Noble Drew Ali. So they're setting themselves up for failure. I yield the floor. I want to say some other words.
Brother Rich.
Yeah. This is I understand that what they're doing is leading people down the wrong road, but I think they're going to have to find that out on themselves when they try to set these things up and they really start getting themselves into trouble with the European establishment. Now, if they are able to get enough people together and once they start realizing, hey, this is not working, then by that time we as USAR should be more established, and all we would have to do is to convince one or two of them that, hey, look, what y'all are missing is y'all not a part of a government. And if we convince a few of them that, hey, look, what we're missing is a government, then since they will already have at least some type of structure set up, it will be easy for them to incorporate into USAR and really start being our court system. Not necessarily our consular courts, but they would be the ones who would be in the forefront of establishing our court system. You see what I'm saying? I yield the floor.
Point of interest.
Brother Darnell, you have the floor.
Yes, ma'am. Islam, everybody. To come back on what Rich said, I've spoken to quite a few people from RV Bay on other social media, and their head is tough as nails. But I kind of agree with Brother Rich in saying that we should just leave them people be, because obviously they're infiltrated and they are. And for us to waste any time on them is slowing us down for what we need to be doing. And in the words of the prophet, he told us where to get the people from. So the best Moors is in the church, and I think we need to focus some energy in that direction. You know, getting people who really want to find the answer, people who really are seeking God out, just don't know where to look. You know, take a coin from what Malik El-Shabazz did. You know, he used to stand outside of the church and get people in the temple. And maybe we should be doing the same. I give the floor.
This is what I'm going to tell you. This is what I'm going to tell you. You know, me and Dexter don't waste time, because every seed planted and every time these Moors are getting people off course, it's necessary that we step in and say something. Because this is the problem that a lot of Moors have. Because now as a sister, we're going to address her too. Some type of something republic they done came up with. But they telling people, oh yeah, you just do an affidavit and go file it in the county and now you got your nationality. That's BS. We you know, when I came into effect, and I just got to keep it real, I put it out there. I told people I came with a sword. The sword is the law. That means anything that's not in line with that law, I'm going to cut it apart. I'm going to tear it apart. They're going to stop with this nonsense. Noju Ali also told us that our people is from the show me state. They don't believe nothing. The only way they're going to believe it, you got to show them. That's why we doing what we doing over here in the government, so that we walk it like we talk it. Period. Because that's all they're going to overstand. So these people out here is calling themselves selling nationality and all that. Guess what? When our marshals kick in they door, they like, what's going on? Y'all selling nationality. Yeah, y'all been under investigation. Yeah, we got jails built. We got a courthouse built. You finna go. Yeah, that's right this way. Watch your head. That's when they gonna start waking up. When we really start putting that sword on people for violating and breaking our laws. And that's what's gonna make the European respect you. Because he see you stepping up, doing what you're supposed to do. You run around talking about you're a nation, but our police still police.
Islam.
You say you're a nation, but we still enforcing our laws. You say you're a nation, but you keep calling us for every little thing that go on with y'all. So be responsible. Everybody in the government seat is a trustee. It's your duty. I'm going to say it again. It's your duty. Anytime, any misteaching other than what you've been learning. And remember, I'm not just telling you, oh, just tell them because Cannon Bay told you. I teach law over here where you can read it for yourself. Now, I had a Moor tell me, oh, you theoretically speaking. I say, no, Moor, I'm not theoretically speaking. This is what I read in the law. We had a disagreement because he think I'm theoretically speaking versus I'm steady telling him, brother, I got this in the law. You can read it. So sometimes we got to let our egos go. We got to be humble, like the book is telling us, be humble, and listen. And listen. I don't teach nonsense. I teach common sense over here. And I make this stuff simple where third graders can understand it. I'm not no complicated teacher. Anybody that's not absorbing what I'm teaching, they ain't trying to absorb it. Because it don't get no simpler than consular courts is for outside of your country. It is set up in a foreign country for the protection of your nationals when they're moving abroad, when they're in another country. That's what it's for. If you are at home, there's no need for no consular court. What you need at home, why the hell you going to have a consular court in your own country and you ain't even got a court that if a Moor steal a bicycle from another Moor, you can't even deal with that. I'm talking about, just think about it. It's just nonsense. Nonsense. A Moor broke in my house and stole my TV. You can't even deal with that issue. You ain't even got a court set up to deal with that. You're trying to jump all the way to another level, talking about a consular court, dealing with foreigners, and you in your own land. If you set up your own court, you can deal with the foreigners, because you'll be dragging their tail off in your court. All these police all across the country shooting unarmed our people unarmed? When you gonna get your courts and your marshals together so when they say they not pressing charges against them and they gonna let them go for that, you can go get them, bring them before your court. You know why? Because that's what your treaty say. I told y'all the story when I was in Porter County Jail in Indiana. I kept writing them, telling them they was violating my rights under the treaty. Kept writing grievances. Kept telling them they needed to contact the governor. The captain, the sheriff, he came around. He called me out. Matter of fact, it was the sheriff. He called me out in the lobby. He talked to me. He said, I read that treaty you talking about. He said, it's saying there, we killed one of y'all citizens. We got to stand court before y'all court, and if y'all kill one of our citizens, you got to stand court. You got to stand trial before one of our courts. Their court is the district court. That's their court. That is their consular court. And when I did my homework now too, and when I get to going down through this thing right here, yeah, it's gonna tell you flat out that these courts was abolished. That when they abolished these consular courts in America, and this is where I think a lot of Moors is getting conscrewed because they see Morocco. They just conscrew this all because they see Morocco. They're not really researching and understanding what this is talking about. It's the United States giving up their jurisdiction in Morocco. They're giving up their consular courts. So it's not courts that Moors had here that got abolished. It's the United States government giving up their jurisdiction within Morocco. And in my study of what I found, it's going to tell you flat out that they did that to pave the way for the independence of Morocco. So they got rid of them to pave the way for the independence of Morocco. Because they knew we're going to wake up. We're waking up. They know the time is coming.
Point of interest.
Islam, you got the flow.
I hate to interrupt you, but can you break that down? I mean, you say it a lot, but can you break that down for us? Specifically when you said the United States gave up their jurisdiction in Morocco.
It's right here.
I know, but I need to understand it.
Right here. I just broke it down, Rich. They gave up their jurisdiction here. Their jurisdiction, the jurisdiction that they had. They gave it up.
Okay, so
they gave up their consular courts.
Here.
The district court assumed the responsibility of their consular courts. Assumed the responsibility
of their courts here, not in the Morocco over there.
I didn't say the kingdom of Morocco, brother.
Okay.
Morocco.
Right, so that's what I'm trying to make sure I understand.
Okay, Morocco, not kingdom of Morocco. Morocco. Right here, where we at.
Okay.
We in Morocco, right? Also known as America, right? I showed a video with Todd talking, right?
Right.
Okay. We're going to keep it moving. We ain't going to...
I just need to make sure I understand it. You know, I hear what you're saying.
Ask questions. All right. Ask questions.
Point of interest. Point of interest.
Ask questions. You got the flow, bro.
I just want to make sure that before your butt get off this phone tonight, you send this out. Don't you put us on the hook like this, because I can see what you're saying right there in the write-up. I want it in front of me. So don't leave out of here without giving this up. As you always say, this is a jewel, and this is a definite overstanding that we need. I want this write-up.
Yes, sir.
Bottom line, period. Don't you get off this call without sending this out, President. I'm going to come through and ghost you. I yield the floor.
And I'll be behind him.
Did the Secret Service hear that threat?
Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Mine was a problem. I heard it.
Okay, listen. I'm going to mute all y'all. I'm going to have to mute all y'all because I really want to go through this information. I want y'all to see. I want y'all to learn. So, jurisdiction. From the Latin...
Point of interest.
You got the flow. Who is that?
This is Governor Dexter J. Bay.
You got the flow.
I just wanted to ask you, can I see the screen real quick before you read this? Because this part of it is so serious because this will separate USA from everything else because everybody be so confused. So I got these comments pulled up because the brother Shalimar did respond. But I know you're going into this, but it's just going to go into the fact that you actually willing to go into this.
Somebody pass him the screen, please. Send the screen to Governor Dexter Johnson Bay, please.
Point of interest. While he's doing that. Yeah. America is Morocco. They had set up consular courts here on our landmass during the period that they call it the fall of Morocco or whatever, but yeah. And so there is no need to set up consular courts here, but okay. I understand. I got something for them too. I'm going in. I like to fight. I yield the floor.
Okay. Y'all can see the screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's that same video. So another brother, Darnell Wilson Eel, he said, I agree with courts, but consular courts, why? Curious. He asking questions. I said, exactly. Consular courts don't go into your home country. We told this brother that and explained we need courts here, consular courts outside the country. So a couple of days go past. People still feeding into it, and I had people who contacted me about it, a whole bunch of stuff. So I came back again. What is consular courts? Courts held by the consuls of one country within the territory of another under the authority given by treaty for settlement of civil cases between citizens of the country which the consul represents. And in some instances, they have also criminal jurisdiction, but in respect are subject to review by the courts of the home government. So I sent him this. Then I said, we at home already. Stop it. He said, now this is the brother Shalimar. He said, well, Dexter J. Bay, it is obvious you don't like the consular court idea. Then don't help us with it. And I encourage you to use your nobility to discourage a belligerent European instead of enthusiastic Moor. So I said, it's not in line with the law, Mobite. Who is the head of it? I want to speak with them. I said, so they or you can show us how this is lawful. Then I tagged Cannon Bay in the post. His response is, actually, no. I'm not really trying to show anyone anything. I'm building a system that will continue to free our Moors from the tyranny of foreign occupiers. And people actually like that comment. So I said to him, so you building a system without disclosure to the people it's supposed to benefit. He said, I encourage you to speak with someone in USAR's judicial department so they can likely enlighten you. And again, people liking that comment, feeding into it. I don't know why. So I said, what state do you have allegiance to? He said, his state is the Moorish Divine and National Movement of the World, Moorish National Republic. And people like that. I said, anything a Moor, I was actually commenting to somebody else. I said, anything a Moor does should be easily backed up by law and not avoided when someone who is studied wants you to show me how this is lawful. That's counterfeit behavior. And then I asked the other brother, has nationality conferred? I guess they deleted all them comments because he's, probably cursing me out. And I asked him, what state do we have allegiance to? Yeah, but I just want to say that before you got to reading what you was finna read, because this brother didn't want to explain nothing. So it's nothing for us to be waiting on with these people. And I don't know why we still trying to act like we're trying to figure out if they is or is not agents. It's all the way counterfeit behavior. All the way. And our marshals should be putting together an indictment for them or something. Because that's in everybody's face. Everybody witnessing that. Not only that, this brother spoke on the phone with us 2 or 3 times. At least two. So he also spoke with President Cannon Bay them 2 times. So it's not like he don't understand. And then he did this after that. And then you see he said he's not trying to explain anything. So what is he doing there? Distracting you. Islam, that's all I got to say.
Islam. Anybody else?
Kelowna, can you get the screen share back to me for Dex?
Sure.
I want to thank you.
I'm trying to tell y'all that they trying to distract people from government. Who is that? Your screen, Kelowna?
Yes.
You want to read that?
It doesn't do it. It doesn't have anything to do with what we're doing.
Okay.
But it's.
Did you want to read it? See it up on the screen. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Jurisdiction, meaning law, and decree, meaning to speak, is the practical authority granted to a legal body to administer justice within a defined area of responsibility. Michigan tax law, areas of jurisdiction apply to local, state, and federal levels. The court has jurisdiction to apply federal law. Colloquially, I don't know if I pronounced that right, but colloquially, it is used to refer to the geographical area to which such authority applies. The court has jurisdiction over all of Colorado. The legal term refers only to the granted authority, not to a geographical area. Jurisdiction draws its substance from public international law, conflict of laws, constitutional law, and the powers of the executive and legislative branches of government to allocate resources to best serve the needs of its native society. Now watch out, pay attention. Statutory law. Statutory law or statute law is written law set down by a body of legislature or by a singular legislator in the case of an absolute monarchy. This is as opposed to oral or customary law or regulatory law promulgated by the executive or common law of the judiciary. Statutes may originate with national, state legislatures or local municipalities. Now, legislation. Legislation or statutory law is law which has been promulgated or enacted by a legislature or other governing body, or the process of making it. Before an item of legislation becomes law, it may be known as a bill and may be broadly referred to as legislation. While it remains under consideration to distinguish it from other businesses, legislation can have many purposes: to regulate, to authorize, to outlaw, to provide funds, to sanction, to grant, to declare, or to restrict. It may be contrasted with a non-legislative act which is adopted by an executive or administrative body under the authority of a legislative act, or for implementing a legislative act. Under the Westminster system, an item of primary legislation is known as an act of parliament. After enactment, legislation is usually proposed by a member of the legislature, a member of Congress or Parliament, or by the executive, whereupon it is debated by members of the legislature and is often amended before passage. Most large legislatures enact only a small fraction of the bills proposed in a given session. Whether a given bill will be proposed and is generally a matter of the legislature's legislative priorities of government. Legislation is regarded as one of the three main functions of government, which are often distinguished under the doctrine of the separation of powers. Those who have the formal power to create legislation are known as legislators. A judicial branch of government will have the formal power to interpret legislation, see statutory interpretation. The executive branch of government can act only within the powers and limits set by the law. A vital function of American diplomacy is the protection of persons, property, and trade interests of U.S. citizens, both native-born and naturalized, in foreign countries. Such protection is commonly referred to as extraterritoriality. However, extraterritoriality was also applied within the United States in regions claimed by or ceded to sovereign Indian nations. For example, beginning in the 1830s in Indian Territory, Oklahoma, Indians charged with offenses on white land and whites charged with offenses on Indian land within the territory were compelled to stand trial in white courts in Missouri. Extraterritoriality embodies a regime of protections, immunities, and exemptions claimed on behalf of citizens of one nation living abroad from the legal system and territorial jurisdiction of the state in which they are resident. Such immunities may be limited. That is, they are restricted to a specific territory or region, or they may be unlimited or non-specific, that is, global in their application. Guaranteeing such protection, especially in Islamic and Asian countries, resulted in the eventual development of a system of extraterritoriality which the United States established through negotiations or unilateral imposition. In 15 nations, Algeria, Algiers, Borneo, however you pronounce it, China, Egypt, Iran, Persia, Japan, Korea, Libya, Tripoli, and Madagascar. Morocco, Samoa, Tanzania, Zanzibar, Muscat, Thailand, Siam, Tunisia, Tunis, and Turkey, Ottoman Port. In establishing such a regime of diplomatic relationships, the United States drew upon established theoretical principles and historical antecedents. The principle and practice of extraterritoriality is fundamentally a state's de jure claim of sovereignty and a de facto expression of its diplomacy and foreign policy. Most authorities would accept the broad view that sovereignty is a system of order and relationships among states that is based on a mutual recognition of one another's rights to exercise exclusive political authority within its territorial limits, whereas sovereignty involves a state's claim of jurisdiction over citizens within its borders. Extraterritoriality extends those claims beyond them. Before the Declaration of Independence, colonial Americans who engaged in trade in the Mediterranean and with the Barbary states were dependent upon the British for protection from Barbary piracy. France had led the way in securing definite rights or protection not only from foreigners but also for natives in the employ of foreigners. The first treaty granting these privileges was concluded between Morocco and France in May 1767. Other nations soon gained similar rights through a most favored nation clause. When the United States declared its independence in 1776, England withdrew its admiralty passes. To prevent the plundering of American ships, a committee of the Continental Congress immediately urged the negotiation of a treaty with France to obtain a royal pledge to protect and defend American vessels as effectively as England had previously done. Although Louis XVI 18 promised in the Treaty of Amity and Commerce between the United States and France, signed on February 6, 1778, to interpose with the Barbary states for the benefits, convenience, and safety of his American ally. This agreement proved to be of little value. After the American Revolution, the U.S. Congress took the initiative to establish direct contacts to secure the protection of American ships and seamen in the Mediterranean area. In May 1784, Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, and Benjamin Franklin were commissioned to negotiate treaties with the Barbary states. When an American ship, the Piracy, was seized by Moroccan pirates and taken to the port of Tangier, the commissioners authorized Thomas Barclay, the U.S. Consul General at Paris, to go to Morocco and act as their agent to conclude a treaty with Morocco. Barclay's mission was successful. In 1786, he signed an agreement with Sultan Sidi Mohammed, which was ratified by Congress on 18th of July 1787. This treaty, which established the basis for American extraterritorial rights in Morocco, was modified and renewed in 1836 and again in 1886, and remained in effect until 1956. The United States soon negotiated treaties with the Dey of Algiers in 1795, with the Sultan of Tripoli in 1796, and with the Dey of Tunis in 1797. It did not relinquish these treaty rights until 1912, when Libya became a colony of Italy. But neither the treaty with Morocco nor those concluded with the Barbary states provided protection to American commerce. Tripoli declared war on the United States in 1801, and hostilities ensued with the Barbary pirates until 1816, when new treaties were imposed upon Algiers, Tripoli, and Tunisia. Following the War of 1812, the United States was no longer harassed by piracy in the Mediterranean. In the Islamic countries, the protectorate systems created serious difficulty. Under bilateral treaties, European consuls obtained both almost complete jurisdiction over the persons and properties of their own nationals, and the rights to offer this protection to anyone they employed. These persons were not subject to local law and were exempt from all personal or direct taxation or forced levies. The system lent itself to abuse, since many local citizens gladly paid large sums of money to secure these exemptions. Foreign consuls found the selling of protection an excellent way to augment their incomes. As early as 1859, the Moroccan government demanded more carefully regulation of the protectorate system. Complaints were also voiced against the unwarranted interference by consuls in the local courts. Efforts to remedy the situation were made in 1877, when the Sultan sought to limit and control the extent of foreign protectorate claims, and to obtain the return to Moroccan jurisdiction of Moroccan subjects, who after naturalization in a foreign country had returned to live in Morocco. But the discussions with the diplomatic corps brought no agreement, and the United States, while expressing its willingness to remedy the abuses, insisted that naturalized citizens were equal to native-born citizens, and therefore not subject to Moroccan jurisdiction if they returned to that country. At the Conference of Madrid in 1880, protectorates were the main item on the agenda. Britain favored conceding to Moroccan demands, whereas France urged that no abridgment be made on the right of protection. The conference adopted the French point of view, and the Convention of Madrid not only validated the protectorate system, but also by clarifying, defining, and legalizing the situation, strengthening it by converting the former bilateral treaties and simply consular agreements into an international convention. After the Madrid Convention, an orgy of protection selling began, and the protection problems became linked to political penetration. During the latter decades of the 19th century, imperial rivalries steadily exerted a profound impact on extraterritoriality as European powers pressed to partition Africa and carve out their colonial empires. The danger of the dismemberment of Morocco became increasingly ominous. In 1871, the Sultan of Morocco, fearful that his country might be partitioned by European countries, offered to place his entire nation under an American protectorate. Although refusing to accept the offer, the State Department proffered its friendly offices to prevent such an act. To forestall dismemberment or the establishment of hegemony in a region by any one power, and at the same time ensure the maintenance of treaty rights and extraterritoriality, the United States espoused the creation of international settlements, such as that in Shanghai, which had been set up in the 1850s, an open door policy. Political and economic competition among the European powers intensified. Efforts to maintain and broaden extraterritoriality rights in Morocco particularly, a decisive shift occurred from concern with persons and property to an interest in economic exploitation and trade. The Moroccan crisis that almost triggered conflict between France and Germany and was a prelude to World War I was occasioned by Germany's desire to prevent French economic control of that country. The intervention of President Theodore Roosevelt in this dispute led to the Algeciras Conference in 1906. While the Act of Algeciras, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but effected a compromise that guaranteed equality of economic opportunity, and the open door France and Spain secured privileged positions with the Moroccan police force.
You're pronouncing it correct. It's Algiers. It was the conference that was held in Algiers.
Islam. The interests of France, Spain, and Britain converged on Tangier, which overlooks the Strait of Gibraltar. England and Germany strongly favored internationalization of Tangier, but France resisted this proposal, insisting on French and Spanish preponderance. Following the Act of Algiers, France swiftly took steps to establish a protectorate over Morocco. Germany attempted to counter this move by dispatching a gunboat, the Panther, to Al-Gadir to protect German interests. This action in 1911 precipitated a second Moroccan crisis, but again, a compromise was reached, and a Franco-German accord concluded. In November 1911, Germany conceded France a free hand in Morocco in exchange for a sizable slice of the French Congo. After firmly establishing its position in Morocco and working out arrangements with Germany and Spain, France agreed to cooperate in the creation of an international regime for Tangier, modeled on the International Settlement of Shanghai. A statute was finally approved by most of the Algeciras powers by November 1914. The American extraterritorial treaties with Morocco were very similar to those with other Islamic states. However, abrogation of American extraterritorial jurisdiction in Morocco was a complicated matter. France established a protectorate in Morocco in 1912, designating special zones for Spain and an international zone in Tangier. After the protectorate was established, France began pressing the United States to renounce its extraterritorial rights. Following the establishment of the French protectorate in Morocco, many countries surrendered their capitulatory rights. With the signing of the Tangier Statute in 1923, the protectorate system was eliminated. England was the last of the signatory powers to formally renounce its right of protection and all capitulatory rights in a 1937 accord with France, but the United States refused to accept the Tangier Statute or the modification in 1928. That officially established the basis for the internationalization of the city. Since Americans had few political or economic interest in Tangier, Washington decided it would be more advantageous to remain outside the international settlement, thus retaining both its diplomatic status and its extraterritorial rights. Some vestiges of extraterritoriality persisted after World War II. For example, American extraterritorial rights were not ended in Morocco until 1956, when Moroccan independence was attained. The final economic integration of Tangier was secured only in October 1960, when the United States finally gave up its extraterritorial jurisdiction in Morocco. One issue was its desire to support Arab nationalism without antagonizing France. Moreover, it was sensitive to the danger that the Soviet Union could exploit Moroccan irritation with American extraterritorial claims. Finally, the United States wanted to preserve its military bases in the region and increase the number of American troops. Piracy is an act. I want y'all to pay close attention to this, because this is what we're talking about right now with our brother Christopher Hill Bay. Piracy is an act of robbery or criminal violence at sea. The term can include acts committed on land, in the air, or in other major bodies of water, or on a shore. It does not normally include crimes committed against persons traveling on the same vessel as the perpetrator. One passenger steals from others on the same vessel. The term has been used to refer to raids across land borders by non-state agents. Piracy is the name of a specific crime under customary international law, and also the name of a number of crimes under the municipal law of a number of states. It is distinguished from privateering, which is authorized by national authorities and therefore a legitimate form of warlike activity by non-state actors. Privateering is considered commerce raiding and was outlawed by the Peace of Westphalia, 1648, for signatories to those treaties. Those who engage in acts of piracy are called pirates. Historically, offenders have usually been apprehended by military personnel and tried by military tribunals. Today, the international community is facing many problems in bringing pirates to justice. Now, I want to stop right there real quick. Do you understand what this is saying? See, these people in these courts and these municipalities, they're committing commerce raiding. They're doing commerce raiding. They're privateering. They're privateering. these people are, they're interacting in commerce. That's what they're doing. And they're doing, look what it say, legitimate form of war-like activity by non-state actors. A corporation can't declare war on anybody. A corporation can't declare war. So pay attention to what it's saying. It is distinguished from privateering, which is authorized by national authorities and therefore a legitimate form of warlike activity by non-state actors. Privateering is considered commerce raiding and was outlawed by the Peace of Westphalia. Okay, so those who engage in acts of piracy are called pirates historically. Today, the international community is facing many problems in bringing pirates to justice. Naturalization or naturalization is the acquisition of citizenship and nationality by somebody who was not a citizen of that country at the time of birth. In general, basic requirements for naturalization are that the applicant hold a legal status as full-time resident for a minimum period of time, and that the applicant promise to obey and uphold that country's laws, to which an oath or pledge of allegiance is sometimes added. Some countries also require that a naturalized national must renounce any other citizenship that they currently hold, forbidding dual citizenship, but whether this renunciation actually causes loss of the person's original citizenship will again depend on the laws of the countries involved. Nationality is traditionally based either on just solely right of the territory or on just sanguinis, right of blood. Although it now usually mixes both, whatever the case, the massive increase in population flux due to globalization and the sharp increase in the numbers of refugees following World War I created an important class of non-citizens called stateless persons. In some rare cases, procedures of mass naturalization were passed, as naturalization laws were created to deal with the rare case of people separated from their nation state because they lived abroad. Expatriates, Western democracies were not ready to naturalize the massive influx of stateless people, which followed massive denationalizations and the expulsion of ethnic minorities from newly created nation states in the first part of the 20th century. But they also counted the mostly aristocratic Russians who had escaped the 1917 October Revolution and the war communism period, and then the Spanish refugees, as Hannah Arendt pointed out, internment camps became the only nation of such stateless people, since they were often considered undesirable and were stuck in an illegal situation. Their country had expelled them or deprived them of their nationality, while they hadn't been naturalized, thus living in a judicial no man's land. After World War II, the increase in international migrations created a new category of refugees, most of them economic refugees. For economic, political, humanitarian, and pragmatic reasons, many states passed laws allowing a person to acquire their citizenship after birth, such as by marriage to a national, just matrimony, or by having ancestors who are nationals of that country. In order to reduce the scope of this category, however, in some countries, this system still maintains a large part of the immigrated population in an illegal status. I'll bet some massive regularizations in Spain by Jose Luis Zapatero's government and in Italy by Berlusconi government. Different naturalization techniques by nation. Okay. How much more of this I got? I ain't going to keep reading this because I got like 18 pages. But as you can see, when I get to doing my homework, now me just trying to study up on consular courts, I found all this information. Me doing my research on the consular court because me and another brother had a discrepancy about this consular court issue. And it propelled me right away to go start researching consular court to show him, to prove to him even more so that this is not something that we need in our own country. When I had already, even though I had already read the law and I understood the law, I still took more time out to do even more research on it, to bring it to you all so that we can all be on the same page. Because it's important that when people come to us talking about consular courts, us being government officials in USAR, we should have a great understanding to be able to break that down to them. So with him being in our government, and somebody came to him talking about consular courts, at the time we was having the conversation, he would have been agreeing with that. And in our government, we can't have that. We all got to be on the same page. We all need to have the same understanding of law. And when I say the same understanding of law, I'm talking about the basics. Things such as consular courts is for abroad. Islam, I yield the floor.
Point of interest.
Islam, you have the floor.
Likewise, I ran into the same thing when I was looking at municipal piracy. And that's how I ran into that. Yes, sir. I yield the floor. Consular courts, we don't need that. Not here on our own land. Islam, I yield the floor.
Point of interest.
You have the floor, Brother Aaron.
Yes, ma'am. Again, I like to bring up that statement about warlike activities. So when we look at U.S. as a government, right, they're not how we like to, as a people, would say that they're pirates because of what's going on. Now we have an overstanding that these are legitimate warlike activities against stateless persons. With us losing our nationality back in the day, we're stateless. That's what our people as a people are, stateless peoples until we come back home under our government. Everybody needs to catch that. Legal warlike activities against stateless persons. Islam, I yield the floor.
Point of interest.
You have the floor.
That's why they cannot stop us from retrieving our vessel. We're not a stateless people. Brother Christopher is not a stateless person. He has a government. He's an official in that government. And they declared war on us when they did what they did to him. And that one judge was not supposed to do that. Islam, I yield the floor.
See what we finna file, he finna be scared to death because they're telling you, see how everybody, you'll hear people talking about, oh yeah, we can get the provost marshals on them. We get, you go to the army and tell the provost, call the provost marshal. Guess what? This is how you're going to be able to put the provost marshal on them because you're talking piracy. And they telling you right in the thing that what? They telling you right here what they say about it, about the military. Wait. Military personnel and tried by military tribunal. Look what it say. Offenders have usually been apprehended by military personnel and tried by tribunals. Military tribunals. See, this what they scared of. When you start really overstanding their language, and we overstand it, and I'm going to show you we overstand it. I'm going to show you what I wrote when I was in prison that we getting ready to use real soon. I'm going to show you.
Here's my point of interest.
You got the flow.
Brother President, also, right, because what you just read, military tribunals, everybody has to have an understanding of that as well. These courts are military tribunals that we're in that we're not supposed to be in. Their courts are military tribunals. Islam, are you on the floor?
Not really. All their courts are not military tribunals. They have what's called territorial courts. Their courts are territorial courts. The state courts are territorial courts. That's why I teach y'all that the word resident is your enemy. If you're a resident, that places you firmly in their territory. And even when we was reading that, telling you about the history, they mentioned the word resident in there. I don't know if y'all caught that, but they mentioned the word resident in there about how these people not being part of their homeland, they become different states pass certain laws to make them. Hold on, I'm gonna show you. The different states pass certain laws to go up. Okay. You get right to it. Okay. Right here. It says naturalization or naturalization is the acquisition of citizenship and nationality by somebody who was not a citizen of that country at the time of birth. In general, basic requirements for naturalization are that the applicant hold a legal status as a full-time resident. This is what black people is in America. They full-time residents. They don't live here. They not inhabitants here. But when you join Utah, oh, we inhabitants. We not no full-time residents. We inhabitants. But now let me show you this document. Let me show you this document. I wrote this when I was in prison.
That tells you everything you need to know.
Now, this is on. Can somebody mute their phone? They got background noise.
Because you know what's going to happen if you don't.
TV or something talking. Okay. If you're not speaking, mute your phone, please. Okay. Commercial Affidavit of Truth and Fact, Foreign Sovereign Immunity Act, 1976. Now, I wrote this when I was in jail, but I rewrote it recently for this brother that was in prison up here in Illinois. It says, defendant. The defendant I'm calling is the judge. I'm calling the judge on his case the defendant. It say Rosemary Collins moves this court pursuant to rule 12B 1 and 2. Wait a minute, that's wrong. Yeah, the defendant.
Did you have the? Did you have the others in Cannon Bay that you did for him?
For who?
Melvin.
Let me see. Wait a minute.
Point of answers real quick, Chris.
You got the flow.
So again, when I was asking about that the reason I was saying Admiralty, because again, all of this is based off of their courts are based off of UCC Admiralty, correct? And when we walk into their courts, we see yellow fringes, so that's wartime and maritime. So that's why I was referring to, is that not, are they not like Admiralty courts?
All courts are civil. All courts are civil. Everything is civil. The Admiralty court's been pushed into the civil arena. The only way you're gonna get in front of Admiralty court, you have to bring a suit that will fall up under admiralty law. That's why in the suit that we're bringing, in the charges and claims that we're bringing, we're saying we're talking the right language for the district court, for the federal court being the consular court, for them to address the situation, because piracy and impairing or impeding commerce is automatic federal jurisdiction. So the very fact that USAR issues driver's licenses and license plates and have a government entity, it shows that USAR is operating in commerce. So for another state to impede on our right to interact in commerce is how we automatically get fall under federal jurisdiction, as far as when we bring in a suit, where we don't have to do the writ of removal if we file our civil suit based on the premise of they're impeding our right to commerce. They're committing acts of piracy, etc. Islam, you got the floor.
Okay, yes, sir. To further, a little bit further elaborate on that to make it crystal clear, concerning piracy, municipal piracy. Originally, piracy was conjugable by British admiralty courts, which applied rules of civil law. This approach was deemed to be insignificant to protect the rights of the accused. However, and a new court of common law jurisdiction was developed, which could impose the death penalty. See, this is how deep this is. They could get the death. They used to get the death penalty. But any commander or master of a vessel, remember, Brother President went over that, the master of a vessel, Brother Chris is the master of his vessel, or seafarer who betrayed the trust of his position and absconded with a ship or associated ordnance, ammunition, or goods, or who voluntarily delivered these items over to a pirate or conspired to commit such acts, could be found guilty of piracy. Assault against or imprisonment of a commanding officer of a warship aimed at preventing the vessel from conducting naval warfare or inspiring revolt or mutiny was also punishable by death as a form of piracy. Trading with known pirates or furnishing them with weapons and ammunition or other stores, or assisting in the outfit of their vessels, or providing them with advice, also was held in English common law to constitute maritime piracy. Britain also has an extensive legislative history, and Parliament adopted statutes to suppress piracy. So under the statute of King William, persons convicted of piracy were declared to be felons. The convicted pirates were executed without benefit of clergy. And the statute of King William, I'm reading this because this was the court's opinion that I'm going to base it on. The naval commanders or seamen who were wounded defending a ship against a piracy attack, and the widows of seamen who were slain in a piracy attack were entitled to a bounty not to exceed 1/5 of the value of the cargo on board the ship. So it's like they are, because they did all of that and declared war, this judge is automatically a felon. They're committing a felony. I agree, Brother President. Islam, I yield the floor.
Islam. Anybody else?
You got the floor.
Brother President, you also need right there under Christopher Michael Hill, you still have a Melvin Ford up there.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Islam.
Okay, is there anybody else? Perez, you got anything else you want to say?
Anybody got any questions?
I'm good.
Do y'all understand?
Okay, so
people are masters with this language, and that a lot of our people don't understand this language, and therefore they'll never win nothing because they don't know how to play the game. It's a serious game that's going on, and people think that they breaking the law. It ain't that they breaking the law. You just don't understand the law that they use, and you don't understand which laws. You don't understand how they applying the law. So when you going in there, you talking one way, but your whole conversation. This is why they saying you need an attorney because you don't understand our language. This is why they telling you that. This is why they saying you must have an attorney. You don't understand our language. An attorney is someone that handles the business affairs of another. He's not. So all that, they don't have a license to practice law. Guess what? An attorney ain't somebody really practicing law. An attorney is someone that handles the business affairs of another person. They're handling business affairs. They're not practicing law.
Because they're counselors.
No, not because they're counselors, because they're attorneys. They're handling the business affairs of another person.
Doing commerce.
When you go up to the federal court, they the same thing. Now, they can turn into counselors when you get up to the federal court. The ASAs, they can turn into some counselors. If you come up there with the right language, they'll turn into some counselors. But on the state level, no counselors. States can't enter treaty agreements or alliances. Article 1, Section 10. They can't enter treaty agreements or alliances. They have no need for no international court such as a consular court. Okay. Now, pay attention. So this is a commercial affidavit of truth and fact. This is one page. I wrote this when I was in prison. And actually filed it on my brother's case. My brother, I don't know if y'all know, he gave my brother 21 years in prison. Okay. So now, that's what I'm going to show you. All right. So, we're saying right here that the court lacks this should have been dismissed plaintiff's complaint on the grounds of lack of jurisdiction. Vessel of the United States of America Republic defined Title 1, subsection 9. The term vessel of the United States of America Republic means a vessel belonging in whole or in part to the United States of America Republic or any citizen thereof. Or any citizen thereof. Or any corporation created by or under the laws of the United States of America Republic, or any province, state, territory, district, or possession thereof. Okay. Y'all really got to pay attention. I'm trying to tell you, the way they write this stuff, you got to really get into your understanding. Okay. So, any corporation created under our government becomes a vessel of our government. Our government, yeah, that belongs to us. That's our vessel. Why is a corporation a vessel? A corporation created under our government. Why is it a vessel belonging to our government? Anybody? Yeah, you got to give y'all 3 tries.
It's a legal person in law.
There you go, because it's a person. Got it. Because it's a person. So, when they're talking about vessels, to the untrained eye would think they're talking about boats and ships and yachts and etc. Guess what? They're talking about that too. They're talking about that too. But they're talking about you. Okay? Don't get it twisted. They're talking about you. A vermin of state of Illinois' jurisdiction as more fully appears from the commercial affidavit of fact and truth. Respectfully, the vessel Christopher Michael Hill, which we're going to be changing Illinois to Georgia. Affidavit of fact and truth. Respectfully, the vessel Christopher Michael Hill is a Moorish vessel of the government of the United States of America Republic. As such, a governmental entity of a foreign state. Plaintiff vessel is immune from attachment or suit in the courts of the United States under the provisions of the Foreign Sovereign Immunity Act, Title 26, U.S.C. Section 1602, in sequence. The vessel Christopher Michael Hill being owned by the United States of American Republic and operated by Christopher Hill BEY. By Christopher Hill BEY. Is likewise immune from prejudgment attachment in the United States under the terms of the said act. So now, we got a complaint we put together. The complaint, this is going to also attach with that complaint, with what we put together, that we get ready to file into the UCC. We're going to also attach this to it as well, because this is a claim and a complaint about our vessel. Wherefore, plaintiff, United States of American Republic, prays that the complaint the defendant has made against the vessel Christopher Michael Hill be dismissed, and that the plaintiff awarded his costs, reasonable attorney fees, and such other and further relief as the court may deem just. So now we're going to file this in the federal court.
Where you have when for instead of wherefore. There's an N.
Well, I'm going to give it to Kelowna. You know she's going to fix it.
Okay. Oh, yes, sir.
I get everything. Kelowna to fix it.
Absolutely.
She like to clean. She's the fixer.
Yes.
So she already got the stuff, as a matter of fact. And
Point
so
of interest.
to her better and all the other attorney generals. You got the floor.
Brother Canabay, would this complaint be equivalent to the form SF-95, which I believe is required to file with an agency to give the agency the opportunity to address the issue?
I would believe it would, Rich. If you got a form that's well, you know, me and Kelowna talked about it, and I was telling you, you know, God said in the Bible you got to warn people before you attack them. So that's why they're saying you got to get notice first.
Okay.
So we give it notice. The notice is together. The notice is a complaint and a claim for the property. We letting them know, hey, you did all this stuff. We want our property. Return our vessel to us.
Islam.
So that should be being recorded tomorrow. Okay. Anybody else? Any questions? All righty.
Islam, point of interest.
Yes.
I want us to see, and I wanted us to say thank you to the President for giving us an overstanding of this law. Thank you, Mr. President, for us having the opportunity to get this. This, again, is where we begin to move forward, make strides forward, because we're looking at stuff that we didn't understand before. We didn't understand. Just like that brother from the video. They don't understand the basics. And there's a lot of cats that are out there that just don't comprehend the basics. So this is why we have these calls. Monday Night Task Force, Wednesday Open Forum, Foundation, Civics. You know, you have questions, ask them questions, man. Ain't no stupid questions. We're here to learn. And I appreciate everybody that gets on these lines and get active, that participates, you know, because this is us moving forward. And again, thank you to all of my family, all the nationals. Thank you. Islam, I yield the floor.
Islam?
You got the floor.
I'd just like to know and re-emphasize again, Mr. President, you're going to be sending this out, this one write-up right here, right after class, right? I know you're nodding your head, right?
I don't handle that. You have to talk to Brother George Bombay about that, sir.
What?
That's not my department sending out videos. My department.
No, you didn't report the department. You got
department. Being the commander in chief of the United States American Republic, sir. My job is and that's my job.
That's like
yes,
doing the
Mr. President. Yes, sir.
That's funny as Jack. You better give me this printout of the George Bombay, whoever.
Islam, how about morning?
Anyone else have any questions, comments? Any chat room questions? Let's see. Yes, you have the floor.
I just want to say to the president, that one part in there that reads about the consular courts ending for the United States really solidifies it for me when you're looking at why we are not to have those on our land. So it really shuts it down when anybody has an argument now. So that part of it I really, really, truly understand now. Even after we done had some more readings on the Geneva Convention, I think it was the Consular Relations articles that we read about diplomacy. This really set it off, though, when you showed where the United States ended in 1956, and we all were thinking that the nation or actually the Moroccan Empire had ended, but actually it was the United States was over here with its consular post doing business on our land. So that's what really opens up your eyes. You see it's in the reverse, not Morocco, but the United States. I yield the floor.
And you know what else is good about that find that I found on that is that you actually get to see that, guess what? France helped pressure that into effect.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
France helped pressure them into shutting their stuff down.
Islam point of interest.
You got the flow.
That is that movie that documentary I was trying to tell you about. I'm still looking for it. It's called The Great African Cake. That's what they were doing, and France just came in and just bogarted them. Islam, I yield the floor. Brother President, please don't call me Froggy, okay?
All right.
That's how
well,
you
then you
should. Sir?
Any more questions, anybody?
What was the name of that again? That movie, that documentary, Great what?
It's called The Great African Cake. It's very old, and I've been searching and searching and searching for it again, but so far I haven't found it. But I'm going to go up to my library and see if they can get it for me. It's called The Great African Cake. I yield the floor.
Islam, thank you. Anyone else?
Islam.
You have the floor, Brother Kukuyan.
Is there any progress on Aji's paperwork?
The Attorney General didn't call you today?
No.
I gave him your number. You're supposed to call him.
Okay. I'll
call him again when we get off this call to see why he haven't got up with you yet.
Okay. Thank you. I yield the floor.
Okay. Islam.
Anyone else? Don't be shy. This is last chance.
Okay, back to work. We're going back to work.
Okay, well, since no one else has any questions or comments, we're going to go ahead and close out our meeting tonight. Thank you, everyone, for your participation in our Monday Night Law Task Force. This class is for all of our nationals, so anyone who is on this call is privileged to listen in and has not joined USAR. So we look forward to hearing from you with you joining in your application and your state oath and everything. But on that note, I'm going to go ahead and say, everyone have a wonderful rest of your evening. May Allah always be with you, and peace and love to you. We're going to end our call here at 9:38.